everyone. This is James Templeton with Templeton Wellness Foundation. It's great to be with you again, and we've got a real doozy of an interview today, and we're here with Pastor Diego Mesa, and he is got a great story. He's very inspirational. He's done a whole lot of things with his life, and he's going to tell us his story and what he did back then. He's been a 15-year survivor of stage 4 kidney cancer, and I mean that's great to hear, and I'm so happy for him. And hey, if he can get well, then why can't you? I always like to say that, if I can get well and he can get well, and a lot of the people are getting well, there's always something you can do. Don't think that, when someone tells you that you need to get your affairs in order, that you have to believe that. There's so much you can do, and on a lot of different levels that can uplift you, can give you the inspiration to, and also through diet and nutrition and other treatments that are available nowadays. There's so much you can do, but we're going to talk about that here in a second. But first, I'd like to mention that I have a book, and most of you probably know I used to have cancer, how I found my own way back to health, and that's my story. And I talk about the things that I did 38 years this year ago. Had stage 4 melanoma, overcame stage 4 melanoma through using a lot of natural lifestyle and diet modalities, and to this day I still do. And I let you know in the book everything I did back then and everything I would do if I had to do it over again, because I've learned a lot. And I think it's great information for you if you're going through cancer diagnosis, or you have a friend or family member. We all have friends and family members that have had these 3 most feared words said to them by most of the time a doctor. You have cancer, and that's a scary thing for people. So hey, there's so much you can do, and don't let it scare you. Just buckle down, roll up your sleeves, and it's all obtainable. But check out my book. I used to have cancer, and I think you or a friend will find it inspirational and find a lot of great information just from my experience. And also check out our other interviews at Templeton Wellness, templetonwellness.com. We interview survivors like we are going to do today with Dr. Diego, and we also interview people that I think are the top experts in the world for helping people get through a cancer diagnosis, and they're most of the time are doctors, and they're world renowned, many of them. And I kind of choose the ones I think are the best of the best. And I think you'll learn a lot from these interviews and educate yourself. That's the key. Educate yourself. Don't think you have to make a quick decision, what you're going to do as far as treatment goes in 2 or 3 days. You didn't get the cancer in 2 or 3 days. You got it sometimes 10, 15 years or so. So cancer doesn't just happen overnight. So you've got time, but you want to make the right decision. So make sure that you educate yourself. Read my book, read other books, look at our interviews. You can learn a lot, because like I said, these experts will educate you really, really quickly. And there's so much that you can learn. But also check out Templeton List, templetonlist.com. Templeton List is our restaurant guide that we have. This is all nonprofit, and it's part of the foundation, but it's templetonlist.com. These are the healthiest restaurants in America, the healthiest organic, farm-to-table restaurants. We've selected these, we vetted these. We have people that's all they do every day is vet these restaurants so that you will have better choices. This is not about, eating a diet that necessarily is going to be a cancer type protocol diet, but it's a diet that's just healthier. And if you want to be healthier in life, which we all need to be probably or should be, get on the health, more of a healthier habit as far as your diet's concerned and your lifestyle. So check out templetonlist.com. And I know you'll find it very interesting and find some great restaurants in your area. It's easy to use. It works off Google Maps. You can just take your phone and plug it in. It gives you directions, takes you right there, or you can go on your computer. So check it out, templetonlist.com. I know you'll enjoy it very much, and give us your feedback. We love to hear from you. And if you know of any restaurants that need to be on this list, let us know. We'll check them out and get them on there. And this is all about helping people. We've got over 6,000 restaurants now. So anyway, I'd really appreciate it. And so let's get on to our interview today. And as I was saying earlier, we're here today with Dr. Diego Mesa, and he is a pastor of a church in California. It's Cucamonga, right?
Yeah, that's the city. That's the city,
Yes.
Cucamonga.
Cucamonga, California, Rancho Cucamonga, California. And it's Abundant Living Family Church. And he'll tell us all about it, but he's quite a guy. He has done so much to help so many people. And as I said earlier, he's a 15-year survivor of stage 4 kidney cancer. He's written some books. He'll let us know about that. And I think some of these books would be great for you guys out there. And anyway, so Dr. Pastor Diego, it's so good to be with you today. We met, I don't know, it's been over a year ago, I guess, and we were on a Healing Strong Zoom meeting, and we were giving our a little bit of our stories out so that people could be inspired and helping as many people through Healing Strong, which is a wonderful organization. And it's just was great to meet you then, and I always wanted to interview you because I loved your story and I loved what you're doing in life, and you're an inspiration to so many people. But tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and tell us how you ended up with this cancer. And I know you were also a triathlete, professional triathlete. So you were a guy that was in good shape, and took care of yourself on a lot of levels there. But tell us the story, because people really want to hear that.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity, James. I appreciate you. Thanks for all the resources. Thank you for all the resources. Thank you for helping people. After this, I'm going to go online and look at that list of restaurants because I travel so much, and you know what? I want to know where they are. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And for years I traveled a lot too, and I couldn't find good restaurants. So, you just kind of hold your breath and you go to kind of a higher end restaurant. But just because a restaurant's a little higher end and they have pretty good food doesn't mean they're using good ingredients. So be aware. That's what I always like to say. But anyway, thank you again, and I'm so excited to have you today. So
thanks. Yeah, in June of 2008, so in June will be 16 years, but in June of 2008, I was diagnosed with a stage 4 terminal cancer and told I was at a 50% chance to live 1 year.
Wow.
And the longest living patient in the Kaiser system with this renocarcinoma trait, clear cell trait, was 6 years. And the doctors within my church, many of them came together and wanted the best treatment and doctor care that they could suggest. And so that's why they reached out, because they had that link or relationship to reach out to the oncologist that was more into the scientific area of research than dealing with patients. So I got him as my primary doctor now, and he's the one that stated those quote unquote facts to me that, as everybody knows, was just simply overwhelming. Sometimes they don't have, I don't want to say all, but don't have the best bedside manners. And so, fear jumps on you, and they're laying all these facts and statistics. I mean, that's the first meeting you have with them, kind of thing. And it was overwhelming. I had run 7 marathons in the last 2.5 years prior to that. My goal was to qualify for Boston. So in 2007, about a year after the diagnosis, I had run Boston Marathon. I started running in the 8th grade, ran collegiately, cross-country track. And then I went into, in the early 80s, into the triathlon field, in which I got my first paycheck as a triathlete. But then I went off to ministry. I went off to Bible school and became a pastor. And I've been pastoring for 39 years in doing that.
That's great.
But in that particular time, I thought, how could I get cancer? I was 47 years old at that particular time, and took very good care of myself. I didn't eat a lot of fast foods or sodas because, I trained so hard, but I had a typical American diet. And as a marathoner, you're taught to eat a lot of carbohydrates, and things of that nature. I grew up in a typical Mexican home with a typical Mexican diet presented to me. Didn't know nearly nothing about how to eat properly, how to sleep, how to rest, how to garnish or watch stress levels in our lives, things that are toxic. That was all foreign to me. It's not a part of how I was raised or my family or anything that was introduced to me within education or schooling. So, if I wanted pizza, I ate pizza. If I wanted lasagna and spaghetti, I ate that. Drank a lot of Gatorades, sports drinks at that particular time. So if you looked at me, I had 5% or less body fat on me as a marathoner. So I was in shape, but I was not healthy. And that's the thing I think that fools people in thinking, oh, I don't need to take care of myself. I don't need to do all that, because look at physically how I look, and I have energy, and I could do this and I could do that. But like you said, cancer just doesn't happen overnight. And there were a lot of imbalances in my life that I believe opened the door, that broke down my immune system so that it could not fight off or war off the cancerous cells that come through all our bodies, but our immune systems are strong enough to see it as an alien and attack it. But because I was, number one, overworked, working 60, 70 hours a week, building a $47 million church with all the stress that goes on with that. Did not sleep well, waking up at 2:00 in the morning after 4 hours of sleep because my mind was wired and ready to do something else. During that particular time, when I vacation, I schedule a marathon. That was my vacation, to go run a marathon kind of thing. And did not drink hardly any water, did not have a lot of fruits nor vegetables in my diet, didn't have anything raw in my diet. And I think for me, one of the biggest things was, I'm in an industry where people can come and go in your life. I'm in an industry where oftentimes people's reputations are built upon people's acceptance of you. And I would take that very, very personal. And if somebody left the church, I think that was a rejection against me and I'd internalize it, and I'd stay with that thing. They said this, they are going here, they don't like this. And it'd take me 2 or 3 days to release that thing. And so that was another thing that I think as the onion was being peeled away from how my lifestyle was, and now it was being revealed that I had a lot of imbalances in my life. That's what came out in that.
Yeah, because I mean, here you are running all the time and doing all this stuff, and that's very, it's great to be in shape, but it's also you burn yourself out, and now you're under a lot of stress, building up your business and your church, and it's so stressful. People don't understand, and if you're not sleeping enough, sleep is so important to get a good night's rest, because it really rejuvenates, and regenerates the body. And it's, it sounds very similar to my story a little, because I was a runner, and I was, the guy that was running everywhere all over the place, and people would see me, and then I was eating food that I thought was healthy, but it had no substance to it. And I wasn't, taking things to support myself. And I had a lot of stress also from businesses and trying to make my mark. Yeah. So it's very similar. And I think that, a lot of times you hear about these athletes that are in such tremendous shape, especially, triathletes, and I have, and these bike racers and all this, that come down with these weird things like cancer. It's like, how could this happen to this guy? And that's kind of what everybody said about me. So you basically ended up, after a while, and this stuff was brewing inside, and you're just doing so much, but it just immune system just gets dragged down the drain, kind of, I think, what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. We all have different pain thresholds. We all have different genetics. We all have different personality makeups.
Yes.
And I think that's what's confusing, because you judge yourself by someone else's. Well, why hasn't it happened to them? And I know somebody who 85 years old ate lard every day or smoked, and they never got cancer. And
right.
You try to compare that, which you can't, because we're all individually wired differently. And that's what I had to realize. I had to run my race.
Yeah.
I had to come up with the healing regimen, or the things that I was going to do to get better.
And don't you think that a lot of people don't handle stress as well as others?
Absolutely. Yes. Again, like you're building a business, I'm building a church, but it's a multi-million-dollar budget. Yeah. I have 130 employees that are dependent upon me. And then there's a schedule that I have to keep at that particular time. It's hard for me to say it because I'm not boasting. I'm ashamed of it. I was preaching 7 times a week. Yes. I was preaching just to keep this thing afloat. So how much could this body take before it break down? I could gift someone a $300,000 car, but if you don't put the right fuel in it, it's not going to perform at the level in which it was built. And so our bodies are these $300,000, $1 million vehicles, and we're putting wrong food or fuel into it. And you could get away with it for a while, but eventually it will break down.
Yes, you're right.
The signs of it.
Absolutely. And so tell us, you were diagnosed, and the doctor said that it wasn't good and all that. And tell us, did you do chemotherapy?
Yeah. So for 2 years I was on chemo. I was on a pill called Sutin, because traditional chemo, they said, would not work at all. And so they put me on Sutin, and I'd go 21 days on that pill, and then 7 days to recover from that. And again, I didn't know anything about the naturopathic world at all.
Yes.
So I just simply submitted myself. to the wisdom of doctors and what they said, but eventually I started asking the hard questions, because in the beginning, again, every one of us are different.
Yeah.
I didn't want to know too much. I didn't want to stir fear up within me. So I eventually began to ask, when am I coming off a Sutin? When am I not going to have to be on chemo? And when I began to hear what they said, you'll always be on it. You'll be on it till the day you die. This is not a pill or chemo to heal or to rid the cancer out of you. We're just prolonging your life. Those trigger words.
Yeah.
Are words that I'm not trying to prolong my life. I'm trying to get healed and live long. And so when I finally came to terms with they probably can't help me anymore, that's when I began to seek out another means. And I went and saw 3 naturopathic doctors to see how they would handle that situation. So for 2 years, though, I was on chemo. But early, my wife had a friend that had breast cancer. And she said, I would highly suggest that you meet with a nutritionist. And at that nutritionist, and this virtually happened from day one of the diagnosis, said, eliminate red meat, all caffeine, all refined sugar, and all processed foods, and start juicing greens. Those were the things that I initiated right away, and extremely grateful for that knowledge while I was on those 2 years of chemo.
That's great. And you were juicing how often?
I would juice every day, about in the beginning, when I had no knowledge from a naturopath, about 16 ounces of cucumber, celery, parsley, cilantro, kale, and some lemon. That's pretty much all that was at that particular time.
So really kind of to help the detoxification and flush the system out, and also give your bodies the nutrients that it needed to heal.
Exactly, because it's overwhelming. I mean, the average person is not a doctor or a scientist, so he doesn't know the benefits of everything. It was just saying, you know what, I do feel like I'm putting life in me and the nutritional value within me. I don't know how it's going to work out, if it's going to the kidney, if it's going to the liver, or you said detoxification. It felt like this was the right thing to do.
Yeah, it just made sense. Yeah. And, sometimes, like you said, the doctor basically prolonging your life, and that's kind of what they do for people. Their idea is, let's prolong his life, give him a few more years or a couple of more years. They think that's a great thing, but anybody in their right mind is going to say no. I mean, if you're 90 years old, maybe, but sure. But if you're a young man like you were, right, we don't want to hear that. We want to hear, okay, what's going to buy me? I want another 20 years or 30 years or whatever. So that got you stirred up enough to say that I got to find something else. And that's a wonderful thing. And then you started the juicing, and you started talking to the nutritionist and all that. But so you juiced once a day at first, or twice? You said 16 ounces?
Well, before I ever saw a naturopath, it was just once a day.
Okay.
It was once a day. But I think you triggered a word that I've often used. I got stirred up.
Yeah.
I use the word, I got ornery. I just got a little ornery to say, you know what? I recognize I'm not going to put my life and my health and my future in the hands of someone else.
Yes.
Who thank God for them and whatever they have, but they have no means of healing me. They've told me what they're trying to do. And I got stirred up a little ornery and said, okay, well then thank you, but no thank you. And that's when my search began.
Yes.
To say, you know what, I will search out now some other means. And when I finally found a naturopathic path that I would go down, that's when juicing became more of a dominant role. So it went from like 16 ounces to 32 ounces. at that particular time with other, sunlight, an hour of sunlight for vitamin D became part of my regimen. Infrared saunas, 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the afternoon was part of that.
Wow.
Lymphatic massage was part of that. And then a very, very regiment diet of a lot of vegetables, a lot of raw fish at that particular time was a big thing. So that's what began to kick in when I walked away from the Sutin chemo pills and took on this life.
So the naturopathic doctor suggested that you follow this diet regimen and the detox regimen.
Yeah, when I went in, met with the 3 different doctors, obviously we've all been in that predicament where I don't want to make a foolish decision. I don't want to make a wrong decision. There's a lot of pressure. I don't want to miss it and say, I coulda, shoulda, woulda, and if I would have done that way, maybe I would have gotten better, that kind of stuff. It could just be overwhelming. And that's why I pray that God would give people peace as he gave you peace and he gave me peace on what to do. God will show them. God will show them.
Yeah.
You just got to shut off all the noise around them.
Yeah. And when you know deep within yourself that this is what I'm supposed to do. And what I found, and I'm sure you did too, that when you start to feel better and better, you start to believe in what you're doing more. And you know you're on the right track. And then that's when the healing to me really starts.
That's a very good point, because I'm a pastor. My faith is very important. I'm a strong Christian. And so I really felt like God spoke something to the quietness of my heart that said, you would be the first to know when you are healed. You're not going to hear it from a doctor. So stop wanting to hear it from the doctor. You will know you're getting better, like you're talking about right now.
Yeah.
You'll feel it. You'll know it. And that's the way I began to feel. My energy began to come. It wasn't overnight. It took me about 4 years before I felt 100% back. And I believe a lot of that was because I had 2 years of poison in me. I had 2 years of chemo in there. So it took a long time to detoxify, but that's okay. If you knew at the end of the day you were going to be ridden from cancer, you'll walk through the process. Be encouraged. You'll get tired, you'll get weary. And what it was, I had a lot of bad days and very few good days, but eventually it got turned around. And then I had a lot of good days and very few bad days until they were all good and no bad days took place.
Now, were you still active in your church through all this?
Yeah, so I walked in a little bit of a sense of wisdom. I knew I couldn't do all those 7 services anymore. So by then we had built the $47 million church. So I only showed up for just important stuff. And it was very important that, because I'm such a driven personality, that I recognized that my health was priority right now. Thank God for the church. Thank God for people. Thank God for deadlines. But my priority was my health right now. And I wasn't going to be good to anyone if I just kept with that busy schedule. So I disciplined and forced myself to stay at home and allow my body to rest as much as it could as I was going through these regimen things that I had talked about. So virtually, maybe I'd get a report during the week, a written report or one phone call, and then I'd show up and do 2 Sunday morning services and then go back home. That was it. So I cut my schedule drastically. Probably 80% of my schedule was cut.
Yeah. Well, and you were guided from within, and you knew that you needed to do this to heal. And some people, unfortunately, don't listen to their inner soul, I guess, or listen to God or listen to whatever. they feel inside, to where the deepest place where you make your usually your best decision, based on that. And the fear, where there's no fear there, it's all about, I know I need to do this. I need to love myself now more than ever. I need to take control of my health and my destiny going forward. And I believe that wholeheartedly, because so many people just want to, a magic pill, to get rid of everything so they can go back to living the lifestyle that they lived and do the same things they did that made them sick in the first place. And it doesn't mean they're a bad person. It means that they probably are great people, a lot of these people, but whatever they were doing, whether it was like the stress, whether it was maybe over stressing your body with all the exercise and just everything all combined created the problem. Probably all of it together did. But that's what's so great about your story, is that you sort of took the bull by the horns, as we say, in Texas. And you knew you had to take care of yourself, and once and for all put yourself first, when it came to your condition and what you needed to do. Now, you went to the naturopath, and you changed your diet, and you did saunas every day, a couple of times a day. And when you did the saunas, saunas are great. I think, it's one of the best things anybody could do. I've talked to many people that have done very well when they do saunas on a regular basis, because it really detoxifies and stimulates your immunity and oxygen in your body and all that. But so you did this for how long were you doing the saunas, or do you still do it?
I still do it. I don't do them 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
We did that for 3 40-day regiment periods. So 40 days, then we rested 40 days, and then we rested, and then 40 days. So I did it over the 120 days. I did all that stuff. And then after the first 40 days, my naturopathic doctor told me to go get another CAT scan. He wanted to just see what was going on. And I love the fact, because the medical industry will label them quacks, those that, like that. And I love the fact that mine said, we're not going to be irresponsible with your health. If you sense that something is not working, then go try something else and go find someone else. And I thought that was so liberating, that they weren't trying to sell me on something kind of thing, and they weren't trying to control me. And so the idea was, let's get a CAT scan and let's review it, because you've had, before, during that 2-year period of time, every 3 months I would go in and get a CAT scan. So we had 8 to 10 CAT scans that we can confer with. And so the only thing left after only 40 days was 2 lesions on my spinal cord, because it had metastasized from my kidney into my bones.
Oh.
And that's where it was, stage 4. So we only saw 2 lesions. And I said, what do we do next? He said, well, we're going to go another 40 days on this regiment of like drinking 120 ounces of this and the raw stuff, and then all the other components that were part of that. And then after that, I said, what do we do? Do we go get another CAT scan? He said, no. He said, tell me how you feel. And I said, I feel great. I'm feeling better. He said, okay, that's it. Then we're done. I said, what do you mean we're done? He said, just adopt a healthy lifestyle now. Continue to do the things you're doing. And if you like them, then just do them as much as you want, kind of thing. And I said, no, I'm going to do it another 40 days. He said, Diego, you don't have to. I said, you know what? This thing has knocked me off my feet. It's warfare. It's a fight. And I'm going to hit it again. And I hit it again. And then after that last 120, then I just adopted. So right now, even after 15 and a half years later, I probably am in the sauna for only 20 minutes. I'm in the sauna for 20 minutes about 4 times a week. I try to get as much sun still as I possibly can. I eat immaculate still. I'll be honest with you, James, the only cheat, and when I say cheat, I mean a cheat. The only cheat in my life is that when I go to the movies, the theater, I'll have some popcorn.
Yeah.
Take
It
back.
smells too good to pass up.
Yeah, there you go. So Sears and Roebuck's days, smelling that popcorn when you went in.
Oh yeah.
But no, but you won't see any other cheat in my life. And some people, as you know, could say that, well, James, I'm not like you. Diego, I'm not like you. I know you could do it, but I can't do it. And you and I are not wired any different than the average person.
That's right.
Everybody could do it. If you and I could look at somebody in their past and their history, we'd see some level of discipline that they have that maybe you and I didn't have. So there are some people that never missed work. They have a perfect work schedule. They never missed school. They had a perfect work schedule. They paid their bills on time, kind of thing, where we didn't. I say, tap into that discipline that's already in you and just focus it now concerning your diet and your health. You could do it. And if we could get over that barrier that tries to excuse ourselves or think we're less than, and just put that energy towards something that we have done in the past toward this, then you'll be able to be on your way.
Yes, because it's all about getting rid of the things that caused the problem in the first place. And it's kind of like, you got to understand, this is how I think, that the body's out of balance. It's trying to get your attention. And when you get sick, and it's saying to you, I'm going to give you another chance here, but you've got to understand that you can't mess around too much longer here. You got to do something now. And people just think, oh, I have cancer, there's nothing I can do. Oh God, I'm gone, and it's like, it doesn't have to be like that. It's the body's trying to say, hey, wake up, look at what's going on, make some changes. And, there's a lot of diets that people can follow. There's a lot of detoxification programs. There's a lot of things out there. And, just like myself, I've done a lot of this. And, when you first get in the sauna, you're like, oh, it's so hot. It's like you're sweating like crazy and everything. But the more you do it, the easier it gets, because you just, it's like me, to get in this, I still get in saunas too. And, not like I used to do back in those days, I didn't do saunas. I was doing other things, but you get in there and, like, let's say you've been feeling a little off or whatever, just get in there, just start getting in there, and it gets to be easier and easier and easier. But, drink plenty of water. Don't overheat. 20 minutes is all you can handle. Start off with 20 minutes and then work up to whatever, you feel that you need to do. Hey, 30 minutes a day is better than 0 with that kind of thing. But you still got to be a little careful, because people are, a lot of people get, dehydrated and too much. And, there's different kinds of saunas and all that. But, I've talked to different doctors before, and they said if they had to do one thing for cancer, they would probably have an infrared sauna, would be the first thing they would recommend for somebody, to do. And then, of course, your diet is so important, and getting the sugar out, and getting the inflammatory foods out of your diet. It's all about getting the inflammation down and the sugar down, and just cleaning your system out.
Yeah. I just tell people, just power through it.
Yeah.
For yourself, you've got to do it. Like you said, I want to be around. I want to see my grandchildren.
Yeah.
I want to go on vacations again. I want to, die old with my wife and power through it. Then do whatever you've got to do, kind of thing. And so I have a great story, and the story was when I was marathoning, and the way it was exposed with the cancer was I was seeing sports doctors, because I'd perform very good on one day, and then I'd perform very bad, and then I'd have a great marathon, and then I'd have a terrible marathon. And we were trying to figure out what the problem was, and we were discovering. So they put me on a steroid. I went on a steroid because I had back pain from the kidneys. I had back pain, and so they put me on a steroid. But when I went and saw that foremost oncologist, he looked at the chart and he said, "Oh my God," that was out of his mouth, "You've been on steroids." And I said, "Yeah, because I'm a marathoner and this is the way we're going to fix it." He said, "This is the worst thing that can go into your body when you got cancer. You may have put that cancer on a hyper mode right now, spreading."
Yeah.
You can imagine the fear and the weeping and the grief and the regret and the sorrow that overwhelmed me at that particular time. Had I been so foolish, had I been so stupid, I didn't know no better. But that's just talking about our story. It's the mercy of God. I got back on the right path, and look at what God used in spite of a heavy disadvantage that by his lips should have taken me out. But we changed it around, we brought it around, and here we are to talk about the story. So I don't know what people are carrying today that think the odds are against them and they have little hope. Well, believe me, I know what that's like, and yet you could still turn it around.
You sure can. You sure can. And you just gotta put together a program or work with someone. In most cases people do, but and try some things. Like you said earlier, I like what you said. If something's not working, for God's sakes, don't mess around with something that's not working. Go do something else. There's other things. Maybe one diet might not fit everybody. And some people need a different, I mean, there's people that are on keto diets, and there's people, then it depends on your type of cancer. Sometimes it depends on your personalities, your metabolic prototypes. There's a lot of different kinds of diets out there, but the main thing is get the sugar out and get cancer feeds off of sugar. Cancer just, if you starve it to death, it can't live. No. And there's so many things. I mean, there's a lot of supplements, and I don't know. We didn't talk about, did you take supplements at all, or?
I was on simple, like probiotics, vitamin D, zinc. Mm-hmm. I was, there was one that dealt with a lot of inflammation that was called wobenzine. Mm-hmm. And I used wobenzine a lot during that period of time.
An enzyme, for inflammation.
Yeah.
Like exactly. An anti-inflammatory type, like a lot of the flavonoids work really well for a lot of people. And, myself, I was a big vitamin C person. I got into that, and that seemed to really help me a lot. And I was on a very strict diet for a long time, and I'm not on the same diet. Sometimes the diet that you heal from is not the diet you stay on forever. You have to make adjustments, and depends on your lifestyle, and you got to pay attention to how you feel, how you look. If you're skin and bones, you don't want to be that way. You want to have some energy and be able to function in life. You can't just live like a sick person forever. You get well and you start feeling better, and you gotta go on and have a purpose in your life, as you do. And how important is prayer, for example? I mean, I know that's your business, but I mean, that's such an important thing for so many people I've talked to. It's changed their lives. Just the prayer part, feeling like they're not alone, and through their journey and through their battles.
Yeah, I talk about building a healing train. And so you have all these cars on your train. Again, vitamin C, lymphatic massage, infrared, diet, water, whatever. Those are your, but the engine that drives it is your faith. The engine that drives this thing. Because we're all weak, we're vulnerable. We get to a point where I've exhausted myself and I've exhausted my strength. And you got to be able to tap into something that's far greater than you. And that's where your faith comes in. And, just quieting yourself is huge, because there's so much commotion and so much noise, and you're working and you're doing so much, just to get at a place where you rest and you be quiet and you have a conversation with your maker. And that conversation is as real as it can be. I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm hurting, I'm tired, I weep, I cry, whatever it is. And that's a type of detoxification when that begins to take place. And you're kind of pouring something out while prayer is pouring something back into you. And, that was my go-to move. It was when I just felt, because the main thing is you can't shut the mind off. The mind is going all the time. And you might be physically somewhere and doing something, but this thing that called diagnosis and prognosis is talking to you all the time. And you got to just time out. I got to go to my car. I got to go walk the block. I got to go in my backyard. And that's what I would do, to shut off all that noise that was going on in my head and find this pressure relief valve of prayer and just turn it all over to God. So that was huge. That was huge for me to do that.
Wonderful, wonderful. A lot of, you hear people talk about, healing from cancer. They talk about diet, they talk about detox, they talk about supplementation, and they talk about a lot of them healing the emotions. Yeah. Well, through different methods. And as you talked about, prayer, but the emotions is a big part of it. Some of the doctors I've interviewed think that a lot of people don't get well because they've got issues, emotional issues, and a lot of it's from the past. They haven't forgiven someone of something from the past, maybe themselves. They haven't, I used to think kind of like, in the Christian faith, talk about being born again. It's kind of like you have to be sort of start over and make decisions like you would if you were just a young person going out in the world and trying to learn about things. When you're sick, you got to learn about the diet and the detox and maybe the supplements that you need, and the change of attitude and on an emotional, spiritual level. So it's kind of like you become this new person. Don't go back and get into the rut that you were in that got you sick in the first place. Is guess what I'm trying to say. It's like life is going forward, become, like a child again and be born again, and I always like that. Someone talked about that once, and I found that to be very true, kind of just to.
Yeah, well said. I love the detoxification of the emotions. As much as you're going to detoxify the body, let's not forget that we are a triune being, spirit, soul, and body. And so we're trying to get the body healthy, and we're leaving the mind and the emotions alone. And that has to be detoxified, because many of us are byproducts of our experiences, our associations, our environments. We're holding on to not having a father, something that was said to me as a child. And so you have to go through that detoxification process of, do I have any negative emotions that I'm carrying? Fear, worry, anxiety in me, unforgiveness, like you said, huge one. And I just got to release all that. And now you're tapping into prayer again, because prayer is the point where you release it all to God and say, I forgive this person. you know what, I'm not going to dwell on my insecurities anymore. I'm not going to allow fear to get the best of me. And now you're getting together, not only your physical body, now you're working on your soul, and they are interwoven and connected together. So well said, James. Well said.
Well, thank you. And I agree 100%. And also tell us about your books. You've got some books.
Yeah, on diegomesa.org, you can see the books, but I have many books, but the one book that I've written healing scripture books, because you talk about prayer. What do I pray for? Well, on this journey, I went through the Bible and I found about 175 healing scriptures. And those would be the ones that I would pray and confess over myself every single day to really build up my faith and overcome this problem with a promise that I put into my spirit. So now my spirit, my body was getting healthy, my mind was getting healthy. Now my spirit was getting healthy. So I wrote a book called How to Dream When You Told You're Going to Die. And on the bottom of it, it says stage four with an X through it. And that's what you have to do. You have to learn how to dream when someone told you're going to die. And in that book, the essence of it is the facts are that you've been diagnosed with something. The facts, but truth always overrides facts. So we appreciate the fact of the CAT scan, the X-ray, the doctors, the prognosis. Those are facts. But you know what? Truth is what God says. And God is the one that gave us life, and he's the only one that can take it away. And so I'm not going to allow anyone else to speak over my life and speak into my life if God didn't say that. And so truth overrides facts. And I'll take people through a journey of how I felt. One time I sat, I was in the shower and I couldn't take a shower anymore. I was so weak. I sat on the bathtub, near the bathtub. My wife came over. I was naked. She put a towel around me. She said, "What's wrong?" And I couldn't stop weeping. And I said, I think I'm ready to go home. I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. And she just, the best way a spouse can do, because that's part of education. What do you do when you see your loved one going through something like that? And, you just be as encouraging and supportive. And sometimes you don't know what to say. And sometimes they don't want you to say anything. It's just simply being there at that particular time. And that was the lowest point. And I never got there again, because the next morning I got into prayer. I read my Bible. I was back to the regiment, and I overcame that low moment because I had a safety net to keep me from falling, which was all these things that I had. But I'm very honest in that book, telling that people how to get through those moments.
Well, that's great. I think sometimes the lower points gets you up and starts getting you back into the fighting mode sometimes. It's like people go, "Oh, he thinks like this, he's feeling down and out and negative about this or that." But usually that's a good place to start climbing the mountain again, and getting a little steam going again, to just motivate you to kind of, "I can't do this. I'm not going to give into this." It's easy to sometimes you need to sit down and feel sorry for yourself and feel like, like, I don't know if I can do this or not, but you can. And I always like to say, it's kind of like I guess it's like a boxer in the ring that's getting knocked around pretty good, but, and then you see them come back and win. It's because they've just, something inside of them says, "Get up and do it. You can do it." And that's all you have to do is know that, the higher power, God, is within us all, and is you're not alone. Right. You're really not with any of this. You never feel like you're alone. And if you do, just wait till tomorrow, because, that's just the way it is sometimes. But tell us again how people can get your book again.
It's you can find it on diegomesa.org. Just Google diegomesa.org.
Okay.
And it'll pull up there, that book as well as some other books.
Well, wonderful. Now, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about that we haven't mentioned today? Because, there's a lot, we could probably go on and on, but.
Well, I think you started it off by saying something that I'd like to restate, and that was, um, the Bible says that God is not a respecter of persons. And what story and outcome that has happened for me and you can happen for somebody else. And that's the mindset they need to have. Because oftentimes when I would pray, I knew a few people that had been healed of cancer, and I included them in my conversation with God. And I'd say, God, if you healed so and so, then you're going to heal me. And God, if you healed so and so, you're going to. And so bring James and Diego into your prayers, but realize that God is not a respecter of persons. God didn't heal me because I'm a pastor, or because of my profession, or because was an athlete and I'm extremely disciplined. It's because I took advantage of some things that he had available to me. There are laws, and if you violate those laws, there are consequences. But if you obey the laws, there's benefits. And so you just start obeying start obeying the laws and gain the benefits, and you'll negate all the disobedience from the broken laws of detoxification, worry, overwork that we talked about. So that probably be my last thing I'd say with people.
Well, wonderful. Well said. And, you know, I agree with everything you said, and you're an inspiration to so many people. And people, if you're in California and you're in the area of Cucamonga,
Rancho Cucamonga, I know.
Yeah, Rancho Cucamonga. If you're out there, please go see Pastor Doctor. I don't know why I'm calling you doctor. I guess you're like a doctor too, but Pastor Diego, you know, and he would love to see you, I'm sure. And but I thank you so much for being here today, and I thank everybody for watching, and we look forward to another great interview like today with Pastor Diego, and he's a great guy, and I'm sure that you know, if you want to get his books, he would love to get them to you, and you'll be very inspired by reading his books. And but anyway, this is James Templeton. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.